Welcome back, my horde, to a podcast of Tammy, where I've been talking about it for a little bit now, like what exactly we're going to be recording. Because one of the biggest problems is that we don't do a lot in a week, and without actually like new topics or something like that, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, the hell do we talk about? I don't want to just have every fucking podcast for the next, year and a half being. So I didn't post anything today, and depression. So it's kind of one of those things. I don't want them all to just be like, excuses and complaints. And yeah, trying not to make this one about excuses and complaints. Mostly complaints, because there's a lot of complaints in my head now.
Well, one thing I know we're both looking forward to comes out on Thursday.
Yeah, but then when the hell are we going to be able to play it? Because of this week being this week, it's going to be harder to get time to actually play it. What she's referring to is that on Thursday, Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood comes out, and she wants to play it. The problem is that Thursday and Friday and Saturday we are role playing. So I'm looking forward to role playing on Saturday, but I'm just not. I guess the Sunday is going to be the soonest we can play it, but we do have to also, kind of still hack at that room and hack at the living room and shit like that. So, yeah. Trying to get everything situated and back to normal after moving around rooms.
It's just, we gotta chip away at a little bit at a time, because if we do it where we...
Well, I know, we talked about this last week. Yeah. The problem is the fact that we have to actually chip at it, because you come home and you don't want to work on it, which is perfectly understandable. And then the only day that we can now do it is, this week at least, is Sunday. And then usually on Sunday, we're so freaking bagged from Friday, Saturday. Because just the way that things set up, it's like Sunday is just basically a wash.
I still tried hacking a little bit at it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It's like, because what happens is, I think I've explained this before, but just in case I haven't, Friday, she gets off work and we stream until 2 to 4 in the morning. And then usually her coworker calls her around noon. Or 11, which was what last week was.
Yeah.
To go get her money. And then Tammy goes and does that. And then we continue the rest of our day. And then at some point we realize how freaking tired we are because we actually didn't sleep properly that night. Especially me. So then we take a nap, and then it's like 8, and then we get up and then freaking do stuff. Yeah. Like last week, we went to bed at 4:30 and got up at 8. Yes, 8. It's 7:30, I think. It's 7:38. So I think it was 7:30 because it was 3 hours of nap. And then when we woke up, it took Tammy an hour and a half to make waffles because our waffle iron was just grabbing onto the things and weren't releasing the waffles.
Yeah, because I made strawberry banana waffles, and because you can substitute certain things, I was like, hey, I can substitute eggs and I can substitute, butter for bananas, so... I'll just, to make it less goopy, I'll just do that. And so I did that, and then I cut up strawberry chunks, and then I went to go and start making them, and I made sure I greased everything before I put the batter in, and then, it really, really didn't want to let go.
Yeah, it wasn't sticking to it. It was, actually, the way they had baked, the outside had baked so hard they had gripped the thing. As soon as you like push it down, it would release. But it was that trying not to have the waffles being in 1,000 chunks. Tammy was trying to do it slowly. I think next time if we do that, the idea would be to double batch it and make one batch where you substitute the bananas for the eggs and butter, and then the other batch you don't. So that way there's still eggs and butter in there. Because, yeah, she substituted all of it, pretty much, because of the fact that we had so much banana chunks. So, I think that was one of the problems. It's just the banana outside was just, like, rock hard.
Well, the other thing is I could just make pancakes with, I know, it's like blasphemous, pancakes with waffle dough or batter. Because the one I made was actually decent, and the problem was is that I nearly burnt the one side.
But nonetheless, it's just something we have to work on if we're going to do it again.
Yeah, they were good. It was just, yeah.
And then, yeah, my other mild issue has been with, and I don't want to complain. I don't want to complain, but I've already brought it up. So, it's just with trying to get stuff done with Chris and Jay. We stream every Monday and Tuesday with them. But it has just been feeling recently like it's harder to do it. And then, like, I was talking to... Jay's been doing stuff by himself for his channel, which is in the link below. But it feels like, you know, some of the stuff he's been doing, I had suggested that we do as a group. And he had kind of said no to us, like, last year. And now he's doing them. And I'm like, dude, what the heck? Like... And he's like, well, I always, forget that, there's people around that I can do stuff with. And, like, I'm like, okay, I understand, like, some of it. But, like, I have suggested it a couple times, man. He's like, okay, well, let's work on getting it together. I'm like, okay. So he starts talking about certain things. And I come to the conclusion that Chris just doesn't want to do it to some degree. So it's now like, I'm trying to figure out when Chris actually wants to do it. And coming up with a time to do it where we actually record things. And, we're having this discussion about when we're actually going to record it, how we're going to record it before we even get into that. And then today we were supposed to be streaming in like 15 minutes. But they're not going to be on for another hour and a half. And there's been times when Chris has we're supposed to group up at 7 to start streaming. And Chris is like, I'm not going to be on until 8:30. And we're like, okay, well, Tammy only has until 11 to, stream till, because she has to go to bed at 11. So it's like, certain games, if he gets on at 8, that's an hour that we lost. And on top of that, it's like, that's 3 hours?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the same argument when we were role-playing. At one point, we were all role-playing and stuff like that, and we would show up at 7, because that's when everyone was told to show up, and we wouldn't role-play until 8 or 9.
Yep.
Because, we would get there and someone would show up late.
Or and then we would sit there, they would sit there and BS, and, yes, we would BS with them, but...
Well, that one wasn't too bad. It was more of, when someone showed up late, and then Chris was like, yeah, I gotta order food.
Yeah.
Especially when we had just BS for an hour. That one was the one that pissed me off the most. So when we had BS for an hour, I'm like, okay, so we're going to be playing. Chris is like, yeah, just after I order food. I'm like, why didn't you order food an hour ago when we started BSing?
Because then he would have had plenty of time to eat. But, I don't know. People run on different times, and it's...
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where the problem is. It's just people run on these different schedules and stuff like that. I've also had Tammy's had this issue, I guess is more the correct terms. Tammy has had this issue with her parents when we go back there. and hang out with them, Tammy's always like, okay, well, we're gonna be doing this today, and they're like, yep, we're gonna be doing this. She's like, okay, well, like Tammy's like, okay, let's do it then. They're like, oh no, there's no rush to do it. And Tammy's like, if we don't do it, we're not gonna do it. Like, why are we waiting for 3 hours to do it?
If we don't do it right now, it's not going to happen later, because later on, you're going to want to go down for a nap, or you're going to want to do something, or you're going to find something else to do, which just overrides that, and then it's a whole thing. So that's
and
why...
they have their system, like Tammy was talking about, a nap. They, her parents, especially her dad, but her parents, a lot of the time, they'll go to sleep, like, her dad goes to sleep around, like, midnight-ish, while we're all there. And he gets up at, like, 6 in the morning. And then he'll take a 2-hour nap within the day. And it's
There's times where he gets up at, like,
I know,
3 or 4.
I'm just using it as an example of the fact that, then he takes a 2-hour nap throughout the day. And it's like, okay, that's great. But then they complain. This was more of the beginning, when me and Tammy first were going there. Like, what's it been, like 10 years ago now, by the time that I'm thinking about, where we went there and me and Tammy were completely on late night schedules.
Yeah.
So, the fact that we were getting there and, still getting up around 10 in the morning, when we used to not get up until like 2 or 3.
Yeah, because we would be up until the wee hours of the night, because that's when I had to work.
Yeah.
So.
Because Tammy used to work until 2 in the morning at minimum.
Yeah.
And then what would happen is, after getting up at 2, going there, she would take 2 to 4, sometimes 6 hours of a jaunt, up. I remember one time with that whole scenario, it was like, Tammy got home off work. I'm like, hey, do you want to watch this Game of Thrones show? She's like, yeah, sure. And then it was like 10 in the morning.
Yeah.
And Tammy's like, I should probably go to bed. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. It's just because of how vastly different some people's schedules are.
But what happened is that we went there and we would get up around 10 in the morning. Somewhere between 8 and 10 in the morning. And like, I think the going again, this was like 10 years ago, we got, like, her dad, like, got mad at us at one point. We're like, why are you getting mad at us? He's like, well, your mom's out there in the garden working. She's been working all day, and you guys haven't helped her. And it's like noon. We're like, well, first, we didn't know that she needed help. Second, we got up at, 11, I think, that day. I know, it was probably 10, because then it took us an hour to make breakfast.
Yeah.
And then we were eating breakfast, and we had just finished breakfast, and it was just before noon. And we're like, if they had said something, we could have helped. And then on top of that, it was like one of those things where it's like, well, you guys, then, we go and help, and like, she's already pretty much done. And then they come in and they take a nap after lunch. And we're like, if you guys had, thought about your guys' schedule, you guys could have not taken the nap, slept in those extra 2 hours. You guys would have gotten up at around 8-ish. If you would have made sure breakfast was done for us, we could have got up at 9 instead of 10. And then we could have helped you.
Yeah. Now it seems that whenever we go there, I'm usually always up by like 9:30 at the latest.
Yeah.
But I still usually go to bed by midnight or so. It all depends on who's there and...
Yeah. But the point just is, like, it's this thing where, like, they're... Not just them. It's not, I'm just talking about her parents. Like, it's just, in general, it's just one of those things where you have a group of people and you're like, okay, well, we can all make, like, a schedule together and stuff like that and try to work together and stuff like that. And then it's like, just people, like, go, oh, I gotta do this, and I gotta do this, and I gotta do this. It's like, why didn't you do that earlier today?
Yeah.
oh, well, they were doing this and this and this. I'm like, so because, like, you're inconveniencing us now. Like, well, it's not, like, so it's just like one of those freaking things. It's like, it just becomes us being grumpy and not wanting to hang out with people. And then going back to, like, the Chris and Jay situation, we're supposed to be playing the Raft. The problem is that we keep getting delayed and getting delayed and getting delayed and getting delayed. So I think last week we played it once.
I think so, yeah.
This week we haven't played it at all. And then I think next week will be the last time we can play it for a little bit.
Yeah, because then Chris goes for his surgery.
Yep. And that's the other thing. It's like, Jay was talking about, like, okay, well, we can do all this stuff. And, like, he's talking about all these things that we can do. I'm like, Jay, you forgot. He's going for surgery. And Jay's like, oh, right. I'm like, you can't come up with all this stuff if, he's going for surgery. Because we don't know what his schedule's going to be like when he comes back. And it's just, yeah. Starts becoming hard to do stuff as a group. And Jay can only do certain things on certain days because he has to, work. Tammy can only do certain things on certain days because she has to work.
Yeah, and our schedules are quite vastly different because he's graveyard, I'm days.
Yeah. And, like, so it's hard to do stuff like that as well. But on top of which, it just starts becoming harder when, someone else in the group is just like, I can't do it this week because of blank. And it's just like, fuck me. Like I understand, like, people get busy and shit like that, but it's also just like, could we try to work with it? So, and it's like, as every time we cancel Raft, I want to play Raft less. The problem is that I would like to see Raft's storyline through.
Yeah.
But, like, as we're progressing, I'm just like, I want to stop playing Raft. I want to play a game where, like, we play Minecraft. Minecraft is our go-to for, like, just one person can play.
Yeah, like, if someone's missing, we can still play it. It's not like we're, doing anything super crazy in it.
But the problem with that even is the fact that, like, as we're playing that and we're working on that, getting us all together for certain, because we're trying to get all the achievements for it. And it's starting to become harder and harder and harder because fucking, as we're trying to do it, it's like, if we can only play at certain points, well then, like, trying to explain, to them, like, okay, well, like, the other day, going into examples, I know I'm trying to go over a bunch of stuff at once, but it was like, example one was, me and Chris were trying to get an achievement. And it's like, okay, well, as we're trying to get this achievement, stuff like that, it's not working out, the achievement's not, we're not finding the object we need to do to get the achievement. That sucks. Okay. We wasted a bunch of time doing that. But Jay didn't even come on because he wasn't feeling good that day, which is fine. Just explaining why he wasn't on, just for the record. And then he, this week, it was like, okay, we're all, like, me and Jay were on, and then Chris couldn't make it because he was watching wrestling with his dad. And it's like, whew. Getting, like, them achievements together is just freaking a pain in the ass. Or, like, Chris gets sidetracked and wanted to do one thing. I'm like, okay, so we're not going for that achievement? Oh, I'll do it in a second. Can we, like, I want to try getting it done so we can move on. And then Chris also wants to try to get all of it for the PC. Because he found out that there's a PC version for Microsoft. Like, you buy it in the actual Microsoft store, and you can cross-platform. You can get achievements differently that way. I'm like, okay, cool. You can get all those achievements. I don't care, man. That's fine. But we need to like actually progress to get them. And it just sometimes feels like, like I'm either constantly doing stuff to help get other people achievements, or I'm just boggling my own mind and don't want to fucking continue. So it's Koshka wants to play. We have to buy more of those little toys.
I don't even remember where we got that one. The little felt ball that they can get their claws in. And it's got the rattly stuff in there.
Yeah. Nico hated them, so we never bought any more of them. But the 2 kittens, they're very playful. So, like, Nico was never a playful kitten. Like, I always have that problem where I'm like, talking about the fact that, like, Nico doesn't want to play with the 2 cats. And people are like, oh, it's just because, Nico's an adult cat and they're kittens. Adult cats sometimes don't want to play with kittens. I'm like, no. Nico's never wanted to play with anyone. Even when a kitten, she never wanted to play.
She's an old lady cat, even from being wee.
Yeah. And the 2 of them are, like, super playful. So. But, no, I'm moving around the room because I think they were going to end this early.
Oof.
But I was going to say is one of the things that I was going to bring up is... Oh, frick, my knee. Yeah, me and Tammy are planning on trying to get a couple things for the... our stream and overall stuff. One's going to be like an audio mixer. And I want an audio mixer so much. I want to do all the voice changes and the stuff like that because I so want to like start making like silly little things. Like a couple of people I watch on certain like, on the internet basically have an audio mixer and they'll like do like a deep voice or they'll do like like a little fairy voice. A couple of them were doing like a psychotic fairy voice. And I just like, oh man, I can't wait because then while I'm streaming, I can just do that to like Chris and yeah. Anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Sorry that I'm complaining. Sorry that I'm not posting stuff. Mostly it's just the fact that like, yeah, I'm wanting to play video games, and sometimes I just sit there like when I'm streaming, I just sit there and don't talk. Because no one's around to really listen. And it's just, I would rather play video games. And sometimes, like, it's not fun. Because I'm, like, sitting there, like, literally just not talking. Like, it's not fun to watch, is what I'm trying to say.
Unless you're wanting to watch, like, gameplay of it. Of a certain game.
But. So, because of that, it's kind of really hard to... do it, but yeah. I may just play a little bit of Far Cry till I get bored of it, because I'm playing Far Cry 5 for achievements. Though I may play Cyberpunk instead, because I have to remake a character, but I may just play it until I get bored of it and then quickly jump onto like RimWorld and just try to get a couple episodes done. But we'll see. I cannot guarantee anything anymore. So, but anyway, I'm out of here. So, see you guys later.